I guess we weren't really live in the studio. I'm live in the studio, but anyways, what's up? How y'all doing tonight?
Hey, oh man, Adam and Ryan show. We're on the road, on the road.
Adam and Ryan hang out. We changed the name recently, but it is a show,
That's
and
right.
it is a delicious show tonight for y'all. So this just is the testament to how we still come to you, even we're in the middle of vacation, driving all day, whatever it might be. We still want to make our. I think this is a streak. We have done really good at maintaining our every other Thursday.
That is something we should check actually, because I do think so. I think it has been quite a. I bet it's been over a year since we've missed a Thursday
I
show.
don't think we've ever missed a Thursday. We've always had some version of
Always.
this. Honestly, it is the only thing that's happened is we lost a recording of one of our shows.
Oh,
That is as much as we had. So there is a mystery gone to the ether show that was not recorded that you can't get to the VOD. And I spent so much time to make that show
yeah. I was gonna
happen.
say,
I was so
yeah,
mad about that one, but
because you hauled a whole bunch of equipment up to Fort Collins, wasn't it?
I surely
And
did.
did the whole show up there and
It
lost
took
it.
me like literally just an hour to set it up and like take it down, and it was a good show. And I remember we played a cool game that show. Remember it was like that like side scroller
The way
the way.
it was
The
the
way.
way, and I think about that game because it's still installed on my computer, and I think, damn, I should keep playing the way.
We
That
should
was a
do
great
that.
game.
We got
It
Talon
was
joining us
amazing.
tonight. What's up? How you doing, man?
Alan, Phasmophobia.
Welcome to the show tonight. We are gonna probably need some of your help early on because last time you gave us some ideas. I'm starting to be proactive about getting in the market for a 3D printer at some point soon.
Ooh, that's
So
right.
we are going to be talking about that tonight. So with the idea of us being in remote locations, oh, hello there, babe,
Stealth mouse.
Stealth Mouse. We are we're gonna talk about a few things. What have we been up to? Obviously, it's like 2 weeks always goes by, and we just do all these crazy things like normal humans do. They do a bazillion
Sure.
things, but we're gonna just get caught up on where we've been, what we've been up to. We have a little bit of discussion. We're gonna talk about VR. So if you have some insights on that, I think this has been a topic that's just gonna gone on the peripheries as we've talked about AI so much. So just wanted
Well,
to
and
delve into
e-
that.
even with I even want to specifically talk about Apple's like VR headset. It hasn't, it was announced a little bit ago, and people have been playing with it and stuff. And I would be interested to hear your take on it, to be honest, because I haven't heard it.
Absolutely. Oh, and we can't forget Phasmophobia Boo. I mean,
Of
I am
course.
sorry. Stepping in first in the chat tonight. Welcome to
He was
the
first.
the Adam and Ryan Hangout. So we appreciate you being with us here tonight. So yeah, we'll jump into a little bit about VR. Let's talk about 3D printer shopping. Like, what should we be
Yeah.
thinking about? What are the things like? I have a filament printer. It's been going great, honestly, but I'm always nervous that it's like one bolt away from crashing on me or something happening, and I want to get into some like really consistent printing. And I wanted to show you some of the things I printed since the last time that are in regard to the board game. And then we're going to take a deep dive into the finalization steps of this board game. We have a couple more shows before we think we're going to have the version that we can put out. So we have a couple things to go through tonight. Ryan, did you have anything else you wanted to throw in for this, or?
Just in the sense that I feel like we made really good progress on the board game the last few weeks, and I feel like we have narrowed it down to a small amount of things we could do. And Adam has some
Yeah,
cool things that he wants to
we
share. He's
did.
teasing me. He hasn't even told me about, which makes me very nervous, to be honest, for the type of person that I can be. But I'm being like, all right, I'm gonna hear him out. I'm gonna hear him out, and he's gonna get my hot takes on
That's
his
right. We changed the
things
theme.
he's done
It's
with the
not
board
it's
game.
not a puzzle
It's
board game
completely
anymore. It's
unicorns, and it's a beanbag throwing game.
it's awesome. And no, I don't think it's such a surprise that you're gonna be it's going to take us forward. It's building,
Yeah.
it's evolving where we've been. We've had some side help to kind of to get some insights on that tonight. So
Sweet. Okay, great.
so obviously when we're in these remote situations, you got to say what you doing? You're on vacation now and you got a cool
Yeah,
shirt on
on
there, man.
vacation in just hanging out with my in-laws in North Carolina. We did Savannah for 2 days at
Oh,
Tybee Island,
nice.
which was super fun. So we're at the beach, we're all sunburnt, did lake stuff today, which was cool. So it's been, a cool beach and lake vacation so
Did
far.
you
It's
go
been fun.
visit your alma mater? Did you go to SCAD at all?
Alma mater, yes, totally. Went to the bookstore, went to the like the multi, went to three different art stores
Oh, nice.
while we were in
Did you get any
Savannah.
good art
All
supplies?
totally good art supplies, and there was like a used art supply place. I'm gonna shout it out here, Starlandia in Savannah.
You're like,
They
here's
do like
here's a
they
broken
buy back
crayon.
art supplies, you know, and so then you can sort of you can buy art supplies at cheaper that have been used and stuff. They're amazing. That's such a cool place.
Well, I guess
Uh,
that makes sense because like most of my art supplies, they're almost like new. I have this pencil set, like a really Prismacolor, I think was like a good brand at one point.
Totally.
And then I was like, these are amazing, and I never sharpened them, and I've had them for like since over 25 years. I've had a Prismacolor set.
We were just watching. There was a Hidden Brain. Do you ever listen to Hidden Brain on NPR? It's a podcast on NPR, and they do weird stuff about your brain. And they were saying that the more that you make things important in your mind and then not use them, like a bottle of wine, right?
Yeah,
Like you
yeah.
buy a bottle of wine and you're like, we can't use this. It's not important enough for this moment. We have to wait. Every time you add more importance to it, it just adds more for the next time. It can't be any less important than that thing you already rejected it for. So then it has to be even more. So then like a $10 bottle of wine can last you like 30 years, and now I'm drinking it on my 50th wedding anniversary.
That's a funny insight. And you know what that brings to mind for me is our magical tequila bottle.
Nice.
Do you remember? Do you know what I'm talking about? The tequila bottle from our
It had
days of
like it had all of the leftover alcohol bottoms, didn't
it,
it?
and I
Wasn't that
have
what
it
it was?
still. It's
That
sitting.
is
It
that's disgusting.
so here's the story. If
It's
you want to
gone
hear
past.
we got to tell
Okay.
people about the tequila bottle, right? So
All right, go
tequila
ahead.
was like I don't know, what would you call that? Like a knockoff version of like a Corona, or like it was like a
Yeah.
beer that, do they call it a tequila? I don't even know. Maybe it's still around. So anybody can chat that up or let us know if tequila is out there.
Tequila.
So tequila, there was this summer, and of course we were all underage and couldn't get alcohol and things, but we were like at the end of our high school. It was like that transition between now and getting into college. Anyhow, we were gifted somebody's bar. Essentially, there was somebody that had passed away in a house, and then my brother had to go clean out that house, and there was this, they said, get rid of all this alcohol, and there was all these bottles, and my brother's like, you want all these bottles? And I was like, hells yeah. So Ryan, all of the friend group, and us, we had like our whole summer supply of liquor. So don't drink before your age. That
This
is
is a
that is
cautionary
important. This is
tale.
a cautionary tale. This is the bad stuff. This is like those what are those commercials that tell you not to do things. So anyways,
You're like, and look where these screw ups.
long story short is that we had some tequila bottle sitting there, and we were like, this is the most epic moment of our summer. And we took little tiny pours of every one of those bottles and filled up a tequila bottle with all of the liquors that we had from that
And I
summer.
remember most of that liquor was like almost undrinkable, and it was already just the bottoms of all of the
Yeah, it was
liquor bottles.
but
like
liquor
that,
nonetheless. Beggars can't be choosers here,
No,
my
that's
friend.
true.
So
100%, yeah,
anyways,
for 20-year-olds.
we put on a bottle top on that. We kept the tequila, and we're like, we're gonna drink this like in a year, like and so going with your psychology about
man.
it, I kept it, I put it off, and yeah, I left it in my shed, like heating up and closing down, and and then I finally like found it, and it was all covered in like spider webs and things, and I was like cleaned it off, and I put it in my refrigerator, and it's in my refrigerator right now.
Man, I can't even imagine what that has.
It's either gonna be
what that
really
even
really
tastes
really
like.
good, or it's gonna make you blind.
I don't
and you're
think
gonna...
it works like that. I don't think it works. In the way that
It's a
gonna be good.
fine age liqueur, Ryan. It's
Yeah.
so
Oh man.
anyways,
Yeah, it's been aged to perfection in Adam's garage.
in the heat of that. But what I was
In the heat
surprised
of
of
the
is
shit.
that it kept all of its stuff. Like I'm pretty sure it just didn't seal perfectly or in any case. But
Yeah.
no,
Yeah.
so that's the story that I think that was the same summer that you would bet me things, and I would like. I remember one time you're like, Adam, here's this little tiny like glass of like rainwater. If you take it, like, and everyone's putting like dollars on the table, and they're like, here, you can do this. There was like a goat toy put on there, and like I did it, and everyone went and grabbed all their money, and then there's like this goat that's left on the table, and I was like, damn it. So that was great.
Yeah, everybody threw in money to bet Adam, and then when he actually did it, we were like, wait, but I don't want to give away those things, to be honest. So then he ended up with a tiny goat.
Takiza 4.5 ABV. Hey, Michael Azul, how you doing? Oh wait, Takiza 19.
No, so Tequiza was a good job, Phasmophobia. The Tequiza, it just says it's like beer with agave in it.
Oh, well, I mean, is it like a Corona with agave in it?
Just I
But
think
it's
it
still
almost
there.
just
Like you
says
can get
lager.
Takiza to
You
this
can
day.
still get it. Oh yes, you can. get
Takiza, our
Tequiza
official
right now.
sponsor of Adam and Ryan Hangout.
Sponsor the show.
They
Hey,
should
I
send
love
me
these
some
at the bad thing.
Takiza. I've not heard of that, seen it, or anything. We got a special appearance in the background there, Ryan. So
Special appearance in the background.
I just won Scrabble.
Good job.
I got 189 points.
Phasmophobia Boo just won in Scrabble.
this is the vacation version of Adam and Ryan Hangout. Well, as we've been wait, it likely contains. Oh, I got it. The bottle contains the next pandemic, Takiza 19.
Yeah.
It'd be
I
Takiza
just see it
23.
opening to a poison cloud of like skull.
Maybe that was actually the cure. That was the cure to COVID. We had it.
You screwed it up.
we could have
by not
showed that up.
checking.
All right, what are we going to jump into first? So we have kind of two areas that we really wanted to jump on for some of the talk today. One of the things that I've just been thinking about, and I know we've all talked about, is before the whole AI bubble and everything started going through with that, which was always an undercurrent there, was the whole VR movement. And what did Meta think at this point? They invested a lot of money in things, and so let's go check this out because I wanted to kind of look at an article that just recently came out that we can kind of look. I do have ad blocker on this, but it I don't know why it doesn't block it. That's okay. We'll figure it out. All right, so what we're going to look at here is Meta Reality Labs has lost more than 21 billion since the beginning of last year. And this is in 23. So $21 billion has been put into that. So Meta's Reality Labs, Meta is also the one that owned Facebook, have invested all of this money into building this subscription service, building the Oculus, or like they acquired Oculus years ago, and have been putting a lot of information or a lot of work into trying to promote this. So one of the questions I have, and I love to hear from the chat, it's like, is VR just like the 3D televisions of the thing, or is there some next steps that we're seeing in VR that I'm just not getting to at this point? Like, where are we headed with this? Because my son is into it and he's got a VR headset. It was actually one that I bought during the pandemic. That was our vacation kind of headset. But as we start to move forward with that, it's kind of dropped off, but I've seen a few other kids get into it a little bit.
Yeah, I feel like the biggest thing was I thought VR was going to be the future of video games for sure, and then it seems like video games couldn't really figure it out, right? It was too hard. It's too like awkward to put on your face all of the time for the like what you're getting isn't that crazier enough than just playing it on TV that you're like, I gotta be able to put on this thing on my face and do all this. And they couldn't figure it out. And then when Facebook bought it, I was like, Facebook is gonna throw billions of dollars at this, and they did, right?
Sure.
And I was like, they are going to be able to figure it out, right? Like they're gonna figure out what are the interesting things that we want to do that aren't awkward inside of VR. And man, it just seems like they cannot. And that just makes me think that maybe what we think of as normal VR is never going to be really a thing because it's awkward to use your hands. I mean, we'll talk about this when we look at the Apple Vision Pro,
Sure.
which I want to get Adam's opinion on. They have a little commercial for it. I feel like we can scrub through. But like But I do think they couldn't figure it out. Like they've spent all of this money and they still haven't gotten. I just think that you could hire anyone, right? Like anyone to figure that out. They would pay anyone billions of dollars to be able to figure it out.
Like, and we have two good.
They haven't.
They have two good points in the chat. So we got Talon saying, I wouldn't compare metaverse to VR as a medium. And I agree with that. So like metaverse is something that came out of the whole kind of Facebook thing and they're trying to build this universe. It's like the whole Ready Player One kind of universe, like
Right.
the one place to get to. And Michael Zull is like, yeah, Facebook isn't really good at making the hardware. But they, putting $21 billion, that really does, to your point, show that you can't just throw money at something and expect it to actually be successful at this point. And I think that where I'm getting at with some of this is that maybe we're a little too old for this, and we're maybe thinking of it at a different angle because let me just give you an anecdote. So my wife's son comes over, and he always brings his VR headset, and he's always playing it. So I kind of like, so I'm a little skewed. Sometimes I'm like, am I just missing something? Like, or is it still this niche thing that's kind of like gonna take hold because a little bit later when you get people to have more dispensable money and they can put it into that, or is it really just still a niche thing and there's only a certain subset of people that are gonna enjoy it?
I definitely think it's going to be AR. And so when we look at that with like Apple's thing, they'll be, they talk about AR, that augmented reality
Yeah.
a lot, which I do think will be how it is. But I don't know. I feel like there's just something about having gigantic goggles on.
Well, and I think that's the barrier to entry is that it's too clunky at this point.
Well, and it costs a lot. So you're right in both senses. So.
Yeah, and I mean, there's a multiplayer component to it, according to Stealth Mouse, is that like when he's in there, it's not just by yourself. It's like in games playing against others and things. So there's still that kind of collaborative piece of it. I feel like it's just it's like too taxing on your body to put this thing on and like be in this virtual space. It's like too much. But let's go over to the Apple Vision Pro. We are not supporting this in any capacity. We have no connections to it. This looks like we're really fanboying on this a little bit. But
well, because this is something that, I mean, this was their huge announcement.
Yeah.
Apple had at their last thing, and this is what they had really been betting the future. And they had talked about not wanting to do this for a long time,
For
and
sure.
then they were putting all this money towards it, and then did this. And I don't know. Have you seen anything of this, Adam?
So I have been keeping up with it, and I hear that there's a couple things to consider as you put it on, like you have to get fitted for it. Like there's like all this pre-ordering, and I think there's a prescription, or maybe I'm wrong, and like you don't get a prescription or whatever. But the idea is that you can absolutely wear it.
It doesn't fit over glasses.
Mm-hmm. But this
So
glass
you
you could
prescription
on the glass to see through
Yeah.
it, and so like looking through it. It still looks like this big old clunky thing on your head. I'm
Totally.
sorry. Like, that's the one
does.
problem. Like, when it's a sweet contact that you put on your eye and then you're
Or
able to
even
do
just
it.
sunglasses, right?
So I was on Amazon the other day and I did see that they have I wouldn't call it VR or AR, so to speak, but they're like these sunglasses and then like a screen is in there and you're supposed to be able to like work on your monitors. And some of the reviews, maybe fake reviews, were like, oh, this is cool. Like, it's really helpful. It makes you like be in small spaces that you feel like you have a big theater screen in front of you. But like what I'm seeing here and so I guess is this Apple Vision Pro? They're not even going with AR or they're not going with VR is what this is, right? They're just going with like they're renaming it.
Yeah, and in fact they call it spatial computing. That is like their term, I think, for it or something. So they're trying to like, people hate VR.
Yeah.
Or people, not as many people have accepted that, but this is a different thing. The problem with that is it looks just like all the other VR headsets.
It surely does. No, and I think that like
it's got a cord that comes out the back.
Yeah, but that's going to keep it going for a long time. That's one of my complaints with like,
battery.
And it's not only it's the battery, it's is it the computing power or is it plugged into some other device is the question. I don't know that answer. Do you plug it into your MacBook and then you're using it through there to like do all this stuff?
Well, you like pair it together, I think, right?
Okay.
And then I think the eyes aren't the eyes not going to. Yeah, Mike Azul he literally called it out right as it came on the screen for me. The eyes in the front are not your real eyes.
Wait,
You're
what?
not looking into that. That is a picture of your eyes being like projected outward for people to see.
That's creepy.
And I think is it even your real eyes or is it like a 3D rendering of your eyes?
I didn't even know that. Like, who would have known that? Well, see, apparently people know more about it than I, and this is like my introduction to it more than just hearing about it.
Of your eyes. Okay, yeah, it's a real-time video of your eyes.
Yeah, here it is. Okay, so, they have like a light seal around it. Okay, provides breathability. Okay, just talking about the dial.
Power. Okay. So
2 hours of use all day when it's plugged in. Okay, so you could theoretically unplug it. Is what I'm hearing. Wait, what was the sound? Oh, I guess the speakers are right on your head right here.
It does support Mac connectivity, but it's its own device, like Azul is saying. So you don't have to have a Mac that goes with this. You could use this by itself.
Yeah, it's like it's an iPad for your eyes.
$3,000.
Is that how much it is? Is that the going rate right now?
$3,200.
Yeah, I mean that's in track with like normal VR headsets that are like more of the bigger ones that you'd leverage.
It's on track with Apple stuff, I would say.
Well, yeah, of course. I mean, now that the eyes are like projected, it is tripping me out. Like you can almost tell it like that's like goofy. The eyes are like too far ahead on your face.
That is not a good still to have. I feel like if that
is like the eyes are not like
weird
positioned right.
It's very uncanny valley.
All right. Oh, here's the tech. Here's the tech of this thing. We got plugins and computer stuff.
Lenses and computer chips.
And it has more pixels than a 4K TV, so that's cool.
Yeah.
The eyes disappear in certain contexts for privacy. Huh. Yeah, is it like your eyes are getting all big because you're looking at something not appropriate? So can you can't see through it though? Is that I thought that was the thing. Like it's like a two-way mirror, right? You could see out, but you can't see in. Now it's projected on there.
Yeah, I know. I don't think you're seeing out except for
I think you have to see out.
Video cameras on the front that show you video.
Oh,
right? It's not like you're seeing out. You're not seeing out as if they were glasses.
Yeah, that's what it is. That's what it says. That's what I'm seeing in the chat. You could see out.
Oh, you can see out. Okay.
I think that was part of their thing is that you don't want to use a camera to see out because then you don't ever have to like do the crazy lift up or anything like that. You just keep it on, walk around your house with your glasses on because then that's what makes it also the AR component. Because like right now everything it's like it's in there.
Sure. That's true. That's true. It wouldn't work with AR if you couldn't see out, right?
And I think that's probably the only thing that's piqued my interest and it's shown where all these cameras are inside of it. So I like the idea. So here's what this reminds me of, Ryan, is that there was this time and I remember it really like striking me as a big change of how things were going to be in the future and it was just AR on my phone and I was like traveling somewhere. I can't remember exactly what city I was in. And then it was a big city. I think it was Chicago. And so what I had is my phone and Google was like, hey, there are some cool things around here. You want to try this like Google, I think it was Google Lens or Google AR or something like that. And I was like, heck yeah. And I turned it on and it's like, put your camera up. So I put my camera up and then it like overlaid these things and they showed restaurants and I could see through buildings that there was a restaurant like 5 blocks down. And it had a little thing. And then as I would move my phone, it stayed in place. So like as I was walking towards this restaurant and knew I had to like go around buildings and see that kind of thing. So I'm imagining that there might be a day where people are going to have these AR glasses on, walking for their 2 hours through like a supermarket or, through some stores. And it's like scanning things like, oh yeah, by the way, do you remember you need Cheerios at the house? You should pick these up or whatever. Like, do you not think that's where we're headed with this?
Cheerios is gonna be every brand is just gonna be jumping off the
Cheerios sponsored by the Adam and Ryan Show.
Yeah.
No, but seriously, I think that you could do that.
So I do think the AR stuff is going to be the biggest thing that this Apple Pro that I would be interested to see a lot about, right? Because if they could get AR stuff right, which most places like Magic Leap did a little bit of that with their VR goggles. I think it had some augmented reality, but I mean, Microsoft has the HoloLens, which I think does augmented reality type stuff. But
Sure.
if they could do something cool with it, and obviously Google Glasses or things like that was something
But
too. But
that went down, and the reason, so Google Glasses, I got on the beta for that, and they were like, "Sweet, you're on the beta. You want your glasses? It's going to be like $1,500." And I was like,
yeah,
"Okay." And then I started looking at it, and everyone's like, "Costs like $25 to build the thing." And then I was like, "But I get it, because R&D. You're supporting the R&D
sure.
of things, and so I mean, you can't just look at the full cost." But what happened is it went away for like Google Glasses for a while. And do you know where it came back with? I don't know if you heard about it. Is it came
Mm,
back more in business, because they were finding that like it's a really cool way to be able to bring into businesses, and then they would, for instance, what was it? There was a discipline where these folks would have a manual off to the side, and then they'd have their AR glasses on. And so what would happen in normally is they would be working in a machine, and I can't remember the industry, but then they'd turn over their manual, flip through some pages, go back to the machine, and it was like moving your attention. And then the Google Glasses, what it did is it loaded it in there, so they were constantly in the machine as they were doing it, and they found out like it like enhanced the thing. The problem was in the consumer market, there wasn't enough apps, and it was like creepy, and people were using them in weird ways to go and do like things that you shouldn't be doing, like by capturing pictures of people. So they like rebranded, and now
right.
they like bring it into industry and things like that.
I mean, I think the industry, like they've been using, I think they've been using it a lot in healthcare too for like training of
Oh yeah.
people. I've heard, so I could see that being a cool, good use for it. Yeah, I think when it didn't work for video games, and when people found out that basically you're gonna watch movies in it by pretending you're sitting with a giant screen in front of you, which like I already have a giant TV
Right.
in front of me, that you're kind of like, well, I guess it has to be for either real life or productivity or business stuff. Which if that's where Apple wants to go with this and they want to, have it be more for productivity, I'm cool. I want somebody to spend $1 billion and figure it out because I feel like it
Well,
could,
somebody spent 21 billion.
or I want them to spend more billions of dollars.
Well, I just want to put it in the right bucket, and I think it's interesting. So, I am not necessarily an Apple fanboy. I do have a MacBook. I appreciate what that does. I'm interested. I got to say that like I want to see what it's like. I remember there was this video on YouTube. If you haven't seen it, it's called Sight. You and I have seen it many a times. I think when we worked together and we did some of the trainings, we would always play it as like a zinger for people of what the future was. And the guy had little AR like lenses.
Oh
Remember?
yeah,
And then you
yeah.
would go into like you could go into somebody's house, and they would say, "Hey, if somebody comes into my house, these are the cool pictures that are like beautiful. It makes the house look good." But to the owner, it was like ridiculous other stuff. So it would be like even catered experiences to whoever would come into your house, because their AR would adapt based off of that. But it got all like weird, and it was like reading emotions on people and telling you how to do things and gamifying your life, and it made it really dystopian style of future. So
Yeah, that in fact that's what I would that's the exact short that I was thinking about when I said, "Oh, all these brands in your face and everything,"
yeah.
because that's a big part of that one too, is that you're getting constantly advertised to.
Which, ugh, I'm not sure I'd be down
Yeah.
for that. So I think the takeaway here.
So okay, bottom line. I mean, obviously if a work of ours wanted to buy us one of these, we would say yes. But
Yes.
like I don't think I would be spending $3,200 on it anytime soon.
Yeah, I think
For what I can tell, it does right now.
we didn't watch the keynotes, Mike. Yeah, so we're
I
talking about the
did.
bottom line. I guess there were some other ways that they could use it for traditional entertainment, which is a good thing. It's like an evolution of
Yeah.
like entertainment, and I think we're at that age too where we can start to get more cynical as well. And so like more younger generations might just like jump in and be like, yeah, this is cool, this is just how it always is. And isn't that what Apple's always known for? It's just like pushing some crazy innovation and be like, this is like the future of what things are, and you kind of like, that's not it, and then it is. So
It,
time will tell. See where we're headed with this.
it's why I'm at least a little bit excited that Apple is trying it, because if anyone can try and make it consumer friendly, Apple can do that, right?
Right.
Like, and so it feels like this is one of our last big hurrahs for this kind of thing until the technology gets to become, like you said, a contact lens, and then we
Yeah.
don't have to care about it.
And then that's the point where everyone goes into this whole like the haves and the have-nots, because you have to have your crazy AR to live your life, and then there's
But
people
you
that
just
won't
need
be able
that
to do that.
contact lens, and
Yeah.
it'll be part of a government subsidies program.
Oh my goodness, it's gonna
Which
and
is
then but
fine.
and to be able to get the subsidized version, it's gonna always have your ads on it for you and all that kind of stuff. That's where it gets all
It'll be
bad.
all ad based
It's
for the
like
army.
what was that did you play that one game? Oh crap, it was the guys from Rick and Morty, and then you got your headset, and if you didn't like go and buy it, it started doing all the pop-up ads in it. I don't know, God, I can't
Oh,
remember what
man.
it's called. It was a recent game in the last couple of years, but it was a hilarious by Squanch Studios.
That's
But
right. God, now I can't remember what it's
God,
called.
help us
High on
out
Life.
here.
High on Life.
High on life, hell yeah! I was cracking up. It was like pop-ups and I was like, that is going to be the reality of the future with ads and capitalism get into this. When, I mean, I just don't see the and I think the challenge too is just getting the right amount of like content for it, like the use cases. So if you don't have this like critical mass
that's-
of people doing it,
And I know we have to move on, but that is the problem, I think, with the metaverse too. Is I jumped on. I have a Quest 2. Like, I jumped on to the metaverse like a couple months ago, and I was like, let's try out this new stuff you're spending all these billions of dollars on, and it felt exactly the same as every other VR little game or area that I've ever been in, and in fact, even sometimes not as creative or fun as other just homebrew things that I
Yeah.
have found. And I was like, boo.
it's sad. Well, time will tell. So I think my hot tip is that, or like my hot take is that it's not there yet, but it's piqued my interest enough that I'd like to put it on my face and check it out and see how this goes. The challenge I think might be an adoption if you're like getting fitted for this. Like, how easy is it going to be?
Yeah, I don't think you have to be like completely fitted for it. But let's say you also had a prescription lens. Now no one else can use my $3,000 goggles if it has the prescription in it.
Yeah, I know. That's what I'm saying. It could be crazy, and you're 100% right, Michael Zool. It's like killer apps are typically starting with the like how good the prawn is with this, and so that's a good take on it. All right, well, let's move on there. One of the things that we had been talking about a little bit here. I'm gonna see if I can cut over to my my other little screen here. I've been playing with this a little bit. I need to make this this like smoother, the cut between this, is that we've been talking about 3D printing. So Talon, we need your help here. Mike Azul too, Stealth Mouse, anybody. We're at the point, at least I'm at the point that I've had the 3D printer for it's like 6, maybe 5 years. When did the pandemic start? 2020. So I mean, it's not that long.
Yeah.
3 years, 4 years. It doesn't matter. About 4 years I've had this 3D printer. I've modified it. I've put all these different components into it, and it's printed out some pretty good things. By the way, I do have to say, I got my glasses. I told you about it last time, right? Remember I said that my glasses prescription wasn't filled by VisionWorks?
That's right. Yeah, and you thought maybe this would have to be the last set of glasses.
Thought it was gonna be the last set, but I gotta plug my boys and gals at iMart. Hell yeah, iMart. No, I mean I'm legit. So VisionWorks. Just quick thing. I gotta go off on this little rant here. Is that so? I could take it to VisionWorks. I got the eye exam for like $80 or something like that. They gave me a little discount, and then the glasses. And I'm gonna tell you, it was gonna be like $260 to get just the lenses at VisionWorks. So I sent it off. I signed a waiver that says if you break the things, whatever. And so then they send it. Then I get this call a week or so later, and they're like, "Sorry, we can't fill it. They're non-RXable." And I did find out they broke them. So whoever had them, like, actually, like, they didn't break the thing. They could have still put lenses in it. So I was just like, "What the hell? What can I do?" So they were like, "Hey, go to iMart over there." And I'm like, "Fine, I'll try it." So I took my glasses and I was like cracking the fingers, like, "All right, here's another 5-week wait, and let's see if these guys are gonna do it. I walk in, I'm like, got this prescription here, and like I 3D print my glasses. Like, is this the thing you do? 9 minutes later, I had glasses with my prescription. 9 minutes. They did it there.
How does
And
that work?
150 bucks.
They like grind the excuse me, they like grind the glasses into the right shape right there, or you just have a normal enough shape.
So if you remember when I got my glasses, it was a standard like size. So I had like old Ray-Bans, and that's what broke. I mean, they're like somewhere close by. I know they are. I could feel them. And so anyways, they broke. And so I took those lenses, so standard Ray-Ban lenses. And then that's where I modeled the glasses around that size. And so it's always been that same size. And I've been like very intentional to keep it that way, because I was like, if you go some weird off-brand size, that it won't work.
Sure.
So in any case, I go in, and the 9 minutes was how long it actually took to build them. I was probably in there a total of like 23 minutes. And so they were like, all right, let me measure it up. They measured it. They did a couple things, and they're like, and I was thinking literally weeks. And they like, no, we got these things. And so I gave them the things, walked out, and had to go back to work. And a text message came in. It's like, your glasses were built in 9 minutes. You can come pick them up right now. I was like, holy crap. So they're
Nice.
they're plastic lenses. They can be laser cut. I don't know what they do, but they had some polarized stuff that they had on these kinds, so they are kind of like a plastic, and it works perfectly fine. I've already popped them out of another frame set and put them in this frame set, and it just works well. So I just felt like I needed to say that. So I got them half the price, like a fraction of the time. So iMart all the way. If you're 3D printing your glasses and you're watching this VOD, like, that is where you go if you want to do that. So it's like enlivened me, and then they're like, this is so cool. It's like you always get the like, oh, he's the 3D
Yeah,
printing
that
glasses
rush,
kind of guy.
totally.
So anyway,
Yeah.
that was my story with like getting that fulfilled. So my glasses 3D printed cred is still going on.
Can continue. I love that. That was good, because it felt like it literally felt like you were sad about it when you were
I
like,
was
I don't
sad.
even know if this is gonna happen. This could be the last one.
And I just want to give this thing, because I'm really excited about this, is that when I had filled my other glasses that other time, that was one of the first times I actually went to the optometrist to get it filled. Because the first time I went to Vision Works, I was like, are they going to even fill a 3D printed pair? I didn't know that was going to be a thing, or if they were going to put up stink about it. And so I did have them fill it. Then I had gone home, and I used a heat gun to kind of like mold it, and I screwed up my glasses that I paid $260. Like, there was this like permanent like weird burn on the side of it. So for the entire year, like I didn't have them more than like an hour from being at home, and I had ruined them. And so I had to live with it, because I was like, I'm not gonna pay $260 more to get these lenses. So that's why I'm really excited, because now when I look at all the angles, that it's clear all around, and I'm like, don't heat your glasses up with the freaking plastic polarized lenses in there.
The lesson for today. The lesson for today. You know what? You know what's great about that story too is I'm sure that happened. And did you check and see if you could just get one lens for half, or did that not?
I actually I thought they did it, and I was like, what the hell? You screwed up my lenses. And they're like, no, we didn't do that. Like that. Then I was like thinking about it. I was like, oh shit, that was me.
I bet I did that.
I was like,
did do
oops.
that.
So I was like, yeah, well, I'm mad, so I'm gonna go now. So I had to live with it.
Oh man.
They're my backup pair
So-
now. So
Have you so has there back to your 3D printer? What would you say, so you said it's been what, 4 years?
Yeah, about
like
4 years.
that, or like, has 3D printer technology changed enough that you getting a new 3D printer would like dramatically change your life of how you 3D print?
well, that's a great question, and I think this is a good way to kind of dig into this, because one of the things that I'm looking for is when I got the Creality. So I have a Creality CR10S, and that's the baseline. And this was the first version of it. So it was like, and then I had to modify it. I put in that little like probe, and I did all the other little things. And so
You should switch over to it. Can you switch over to it real quick?
I
Just
surely
to like
can.
look at all of the
Let's
crazy additions
yeah.
that you've
Well,
made.
that's that would be a good idea. Let me see how easily I could switch over
Oh,
to it
that's
with.
true. Yeah.
Well, there's the nozzle
Okay.
of it, which I do need to replace the nozzle.
There's the
There's me.
blowers.
Look at you can see you still in here. Right? That's a good shot. Here, no, I have a way we can do it. We're gonna look at this, and I'm gonna move this camera for a sec. So, give me a second, and I'll put us both up on there. Take our name keys off.
Perfect. Adam switching to the other side of the studio.
Yeah, walking to this side. Oh, I had this microphone on. So what I was gonna try to do is like, can I move this thing? Like I feel very like if I move this, and this camera can actually jack up sometimes. So I might. All right. I don't think I'm gonna be able to do that right now. So the only one I could really do is
Okay, I see some yellow. Isn't everything in yellow that you printed?
there's some yellow stuff. I feel like I need to. All right, I'm gonna try it. If I screw up this camera, sorry guys, it's gonna be a thing. But maybe I can. Oh.
You can see you trying it in the small cam.
You can see me
It's fun.
in this. So what I originally wanted to do is have this camera, this one that you see here on my hand.
Yeah.
But if I touch this camera, that like the wire screws things up, and we want to talk
Okay,
about this
don't-
box in a little
yes.
bit. But what I was
Probably everyone here has seen all of the things, has seen this practically.
yeah, I'm sure. Oh, you know what? I have the other camera. I forgot. I have a GoPro camera here. You kind of can see this, and I can shoot it this way. There you go.
Oh yeah, see that
There's a little
works.
bit of it. So like, if I take some of this out of the
Like
way,
like the knob up top, right? I see the yellow knob. At the
which
very
comes
top.
off because if you go the wrong way, it falls off. But yeah, this is like a knob, and what the knob does is it allows me, and you can see it. It's gonna pull up this part. So this is that nozzle that we see. So if I go
Okay.
over to the nozzle, you can see me touching it. I would be burning myself right now if this were on. Terrible burning.
Terrible, terrible burning.
But you can.
Have you
I
done
think
that before? You
one
burned yourself
time I
before?
like grazed it, and it was like terribly scary because like that would have
Yeah.
hurt so bad. So if you probably can't see it from this angle, but these two things right here are stabilizers because this is one of their bigger models in terms of how big the bed is. It's not the biggest, but it's one of the bigger ones. And so I wanted the stabilization so when I would print really high, I had a couple like 3D prints that would go like up to here. It would be statuettes or something like that.
Really?
And so that's why I wanted to put the stabilization on there, and it actually works. And so I had to like drill into certain parts and like put that in there. And then what you can't really see from this angle, but you probably could see from this angle, is this is the nozzle. And so you're seeing the back side of it. So it's actually nicer to see it from this side because you can't actually see the 3D printing too much here. But what I printed, and I'm kind of pinching on it right here, is like there's a camera. As you can see, like I had to modify a little part for that camera to be mounted to this. I don't know what's the right button to push here. Uh-oh. I can't.
Oh God.
I can't switch. I can't switch
Blinking
cameras.
in and out of- It's blinking in and out.
Yeah, I know. I can't switch cameras for whatever reason back over here. It's like it just stuck on the GoPro camera. But that's fine. I'll see if I can do it on the other end. It's because I have all my USB ports on this side. I've been moving it around. So in any case, what I could tell you about is that this works really well. I've modified a few parts, and you maybe can't see it because of this thing. So if I put it down, back here is what you call it's kind of the extruder. So what happens is you'll have this filament up here, and it's going to be just pushed through on this extruder. And I had a plastic one. This is actually the third one that I've had on here since I created it. And the reason why it was the third one, okay, now it's starting to work. You can kind of see it from this angle. Is it was plastic, and then it was aluminum, and then the aluminum grinds on itself, and it's like it's hurt itself. So this is where there's a little filament tube here, and it pushes it through here, and it pops it out. So those are some of the modification I've done. And then this board, this is PEI board, so it's a specialized kind of board, so it adheres better. I used to have glue sticks. I put all kinds of glue on here, and then it would print, and then it would adhere. But now it just sticks to this really well. So why do I say all of this, and why am I thinking I need a new 3D printer? this has served me well. It's been a very good 3D printer up to this point. Where I'm nervous is that it keeps having problems getting off level like every single time I have to level it and tune it, and it's all mechanical leveling, and I just really have to give it a lot of love for it to do the things that I need to do. And then it has an older display and older things that I like, that it feels like I could probably upgrade it, but I don't want to wait till it breaks. I want to get a new one in and then like work on printing all the parts, upgrading the other one, and then launching it. And I would love to just have something that is consistent. It also has really good printing quality so that I can start printing. Like, one of the things that I want to talk about is how we're going to print this board game, and we're going to get into that in just a little bit. And so I was thinking, like, if I'm going to print all of the different chips and parts of this board, I'd probably want to do it on this entire board and get as much as I could going at one time. At least for these little chips that we're gonna look at in just a minute. But so that's the reason behind getting a new 3D printer. Now the question is, so if I'm gonna be printing glasses, I'm gonna continue my glasses printing. If I'm gonna print more of the, like, board game parts and other functional parts, I need something that's durable. I need something that's also gonna like stand up to a little bit more heat than the normal PLA. There's resin printers out there. There's fuse printers out there. I've really been excited about metal printing and things like that. So those are some of the things that I've been thinking about. I'm going to go back to the other side for a bit.
You know, because it's funny. The printer has done so well, and I haven't you know, been up on 3D printing technologies really in the last couple of years. Is there different materials that you would want to print with?
Nylon.
Is that something? Nylon?
Like a nylon is one. Oh, there's Ryan, really big.
Are we talking about printers that are in the price range of the printer that you have right now?
I don't know. I actually don't know. I just want to see what it is, because one of the things that you called me out on in the very beginning was like, all right, Adam, are you gonna use this 3D printer, right?
Right.
I remember you were like, is this a fad? Is this something that's going to fall off? And I think we've consistently used it for like projects, maybe not nearly as much. So one of the areas, and so talking about prices, I think like I was really interested in the Prusa. Yeah, it has got. We even did like wedding decorations and stuff. So the Prusa is considered one of like the farm printing kind of printers out there. And what I mean by that is like people will create printer farms with this. And what Prusa does? Are you familiar with Prusa too much or anything about that?
I think I've maybe heard that name of 3D printer, but I don't know.
So it's a guy. So Prusa is and he really was very specific about building a printer that would work well. There's really good filament. You get consistent results. And they started it, and actually, I think the printers are 3D printed themselves. A lot of the components of the 3D printers are printed. So you get the initial ones, and they're printing those printers out, and they go for a lot of time.
I do think it would be interesting.
We're getting some... Look at we're getting some bamboo love in there. Somebody's talking crap about vibration sensors on Prusas versus the bamboo, and that's what I was actually excited about. Like, I need to know what the hell a bamboo is. I don't know about it, and so Talon has a awesome internship working, and I always mess it up, so I'm not going to say what it's for, but for NASA. So he works for the Amazing Space Corporation, and he's creating the next shuttle. And he uses a bamboo printer at his work. And so he said it's really badass. Now I'm looking at this. This is a $1,500 thing. So yeah, a little pricey, right? Oh, that has 4 filaments in there? Shoot. See, that might be where I need to go next, is that I got a single filament printer. What if I got a multi-filament printer? Raytheon.
Right.
I was trying to you know, bring you up. Will it in?
What is does multi-filament mean that it would be changing out the color of the filament
look at these.
Look
at those examples right here. I don't know if you can see some of this. Yeah, I'm getting acceptance from the wife here that bamboo. Okay, so it has a couple colors at once. It would reduce me from having to do all the work that I do with my glasses here. So yeah, let's watch this little video here. So
You could also do those painting style ones that we looked at last time.
well, that one is like you could do it with single printers.
You'd have to yank out the colors every time, right? So you'd have to.
Mhm. It has a 32-bit. It's the Marvel universe.
Yeah.
I mean, it's an enclosed. So that's interesting. Okay, so the lidar. So that's basically the level, I believe. Yep. So it uses lasers to level.
So does yours, though.
It uses a little probe. So mine's probe. So the bed moves up and down. That's pretty typical. They are making this look very like you can print somebody's heart in that. Is that what it's saying? It says a touch screen. Watch like videos in 720p on that thing. See, the thing that's different about this, and I love all this like enhancement, it feels like it's like almost out of the box gonna kind of work better. Whereas I've had this. Okay, wait, we're gonna pause right here. That was an enhancement, and maybe, and so I know you don't know as much, Ryan, but what's happening here is, remember I showed you and I was like, here's this red thing off to the side of my printer that like is the extruder, and then here's the hot end.
Right.
Like this one puts it all in one place. It's all like it's extruding it and pushing right at the heat end at that. And look at this, 300 degrees, all metal hot end. That is actually you can get the nylon filaments with that, and nylon would be very, very, very sturdy, especially.
How much do you care about being able to print
Direct
your
drive
own stuff for it, and to be, working on it and switching out parts and doing things? Would these not as be able to do that? Like, are there replaceable parts, and is it still that type of industry?
Like certain things will, I think it's advanced so much that that's not even a thing. So, you know, when we're sitting here and it's printing and you hear all in the background as we're going, like these are silent now. Like even the printers at work are like super quiet. So it loses that cool ambiance of like a something 3D printing. It's almost like musical notes as you go forward.
Matrix printer in the background, you know.
But look at this. So if I'm not mistaken, and I don't know, Talon, if this is the kind that you've been using, I think it splices that filament. And so what would recreate is you'd have to have a slicer that also knows how to do the color slicing, and then it has to feed that code in there. So there would be a little bit of I don't know if it's proprietary software to make that happen like that. So it would require you to do some learning to make that happen. You could have it add a speaker, make that work noise. Yeah, Bamboo's proprietary slicer. I figured it would be proprietary. But, I mean, I don't know how good it is. It's insanely good, according to the fanboy for Bamboo. I'm honestly, you got me sold, because like
have they gotten can it do more details, or can it do I don't know what I'm thinking of is like smaller, because I know some of yours, right, when we're printing very small guys,
right,
it just can't get details of small things. Has that gotten better?
So that's a great question, and Ryan, I know you're helping like do the interview from somebody that's like, hey, I'm not a 3D printer expert, and I would say I'm not either. I'd say I'm definitely like an amateur hobbyist style of it. But to answer that question, is the nozzles have something to do with that as well. So the nozzle that I print out with, it has a certain radius of the hole that allows the filament to be pushed out of. And so if you get a much smaller nozzle, you would be able to have much smaller extruded filament. And so what would happen is you can get more detail at smaller sizes like that. Now, the problem and reason why I don't go and do that is if I swap out my nozzle, it's going to require me to go and do some calibration of how much filament I can push and feed into it. And you're going to have like some speed calibrations, like things that like I would totally be doing, but it's not easy to be like, oh, let's go just swap out this nozzle and then print out this capacity here. So,
well, and Mike Azul in the chat brought up some things of like, what about other where it's actually physically printing a different type? Are there you have to get separate printers for each one of those, or there are
Oh, let's talk.
like printers
Let's
that do like
let's
oh
look.
a whole range of
Let's look at resin
filament.
printing, Ryan, because I think it'd be important for you to kind of see the difference of what a resin printer might look like. Like, let's go to one of the Form Labs ones to kind of see. So, what a resin printing is, it's a bath of fluid, and you're using basically light to harden this filament as it gets pulled out, or this solution of different resin, essentially. And so in this model right here, and I wish there was like a little video of it. There's got to be like a resin printer video. Let's just see what I can come up with here.
God, wouldn't a bath of stuff just be like leaking everywhere?
It's not.
Getting all over the
Yes,
place?
yes.
Get into resin.
So that's exactly it. So this is. But the problem, like, look at this. Like, there's very minimal of those lines. So
Right,
when you
yeah.
start to think of like at scale, yeah, resin is very dirty. And what it can do, and let's see if we can get this as an example. So this is a sped up version. You fill in this. You have to have ventilations. There's other things you need to think about.
Oh yeah, like doing that in your basement with no hardly any windows.
Yeah, well, like I wouldn't do it that way. And so, I mean, they're really good, at least from what I've heard. They're really great for very small things that you can use. And I'm trying to see, like, this guy's showing all his like ridiculous,
Yeah, like little
tools.
little miniatures, right?
Yes.
Like for board games.
So this is him cleaning it off, it looks like, and that's the print bed. And it's also like you're restricted on the size as well. But the one thing that you get is very, very hey.
Oh my God.
Oh, he burned
Yeah, him getting
himself.
burned?
I'm pretty sure he
Yeah.
dropped that on himself and burned it. That's terrible.
Oh
So
my
this is
God.
just kind of showing like how you have to kind of conceive of it and like what you might consider.
This feels like a thing to have in an industrial place, not like in a.
So I'm glad you brought industrial up, and I'm not going to be able to get this one, but one of my favorite kind of printers is let's see here. It's my stupid keyboard. Let's see here. So it's called a Fuse 3D printer, and if I had a bunch of oh man, let's see if I can get my
keyboard to work.
thermal fuse. Shoot, I don't know if I'm gonna be able to find this. So what it essentially is a bunch of like nylon. Maybe if I don't put thermal in there. I mean, it was called the Fuse. Here it is, Form Labs SLS printing. And so this is another version of there's actually a couple other ones out there, but I'm just gonna keep it to this. So we're talking about $40,000 for this one here. And you may say $40,000. My God, that is ridiculous. But here's the thing: this is the one of those ones that bridges you between like actually having a what would you say like a full-on professional grade printer that you'd be able to kind of work things through. No. But here's the thing is that if you had a business that you needed to print parts out of,
Right.
you could probably
That's
pay it off.
If you already had a legit business where you were making miniature, or you were making parts for things, and you were selling them a bunch already, then you'd be like, yeah, I'm gonna scale up with this thing.
So I apparently have to watch the demo. So you can kind of see it in the background. And so what it does, and I just want to explain it because it's so damn cool, is what it could do, is it will put a fine layer. Think about sand, and think if you could just lay a layer of sand down. And then it goes in and it fuses the layer of sand, and then it puts another layer of sand down, and it fuses that next layer, and it just goes back and forth. And so it's a solid block of sand, and then you need this huge thing over here to clean it off. But what comes off of it is the finalized part. 3D printing, as we've done it with our FDM, even my glasses and stuff, that's almost like prototyping. It's not the final version. It's just like, what would it be like if I had this part, and then you go ship it off and you get it like
Right. 'Cause
fuse
it's
molding and things
it's
like
still plastic. It's still plastic.
right. And so
You
that's
can't
what
really use it.
and
Yeah.
like for instance, they're showing like you can make pedals for a bike, and this would be completely, you could sell it,
Right.
you could do all that stuff, and yeah, it's supportless. That's a great way to think about it. So like Dream Printer, if I was like making a bunch of stuff, they were saying that there was a company that went in here and bought one of these for $40,000 and had it paid off in 6 months based off the sales of the stuff that they were making off of it.
Yeah, Mike has a good question in the chat. So, like, what does that end up being? What is super heated up laser sand? Like, what is it? Is it, he was asking, is it silicon? Like at that point,
It's,
like
it's
what is the
nylon.
actual
I think it's nylon.
like from a rope, like nylon rope?
Well, I mean, nylon could be put in a rope. It's just like it's a material. So it's like the little, and so you can kind of see, to maybe, yeah, nylon is a material that could be in all kinds of different forms, and so they basically have it as a fine kind of almost sand. And then when you clean off the nylon, so imagine this is their duplicator so that you could go and 3D print this model that you put in there. And they're like, make this to capacity. If I made this pedal, how many of these could you print in this little box right here? So it like does it to max quantity. And then all the negative space in this would also be filled with nylon as well. So like I said, sand is probably the best way to think about it. So nylon sand style kind of thing. And then you just put it from layer to layer, and then it gets fused as it goes through there. That's why they call it the fuse.
How fast does it print then? I know we're over time. We're over
No,
time
it's
for
all
this,
good.
but,
I mean,
like,
it's cool to just talk about it because I like there's a lot of other ones, and we didn't even get into voxel printing yet. That's a whole nother thing. Like, there's like these little mini things where you're like, it's printing in voxel. So we could talk about that. But I just love the fact that this is like ready. It's like done. Yeah, see, available now with nylon 11, 12, GF, CF, and then some TPU. They're powders. Powders is a better way to say it. And so the powders are recyclable. So as we were saying, like you fill up that chamber, and I don't know if you're getting me what I'm saying of how this actually works, because I don't know, it's the idea that you wouldn't ever have to have supports on anything. So this little bucket,
well,
this is
because eventually it's just filled with sand, right?
it's a
Like, for the
powdered
most
nylon
part.
is the best way.
Because you're like putting a layer down and then you're lasering it, and then you're putting another layer down and lasering it, and so all the layers that are also not getting lasered are just there.
There's just
They
still
don't get wiped away.
correct.
So they're supporting everything else. And then once you put in the other thing, it like blows it all away, I guess. Or
Yeah,
something,
and
or,
this
like,
this picture of this dude is a perfect example of it. So you do have to have these gloves. It's like the cleaning station is bigger than this, but it also like recycles all the parts. So you go in there and it like you're spraying it and it's going down this drain and it recollects it. Then you can go use it for your next print. And so usually I think one of those basins is like $10,000 or $20,000, that thing he's holding. So you would want two of those. Then you'd use the fuse kind of 3D printer and then the cleaner, and that could be an industrial kind of thing. So it was never it's like an entryway for small businesses to be able to produce things at scale, whereas it's hundreds of thousands of dollars for like the industry standard big ones you get, and all the ones that everyone else is working is almost hobbyist, and you can still do some cool things with it, but you could run a business probably off of this one and get some very durable parts and do things that are really cool.
I could see that. I could see even like bike companies or there's tons of people that make like small hard doodads for things or individual objects.
I think I'm going for. I think we figured it out. We're getting the fuse. All right,
Perfect.
man.
Next week.
We'll just promote Double Drop Down. We'll get a Patreon. Oh, look, it's starting at
The
18.
Patreon.
It's only 18. It's gone
Only
down, babe. We
18.
could get this. It's $19,000. I mean, they make you think it's 18. It's $19,000 for this. For Fuse
No
One.
basins included, no materials included.
I gotta sell the house.
Sell the house.
I mean, honestly, if you had a business, I would truly think about it. But like, I just don't think of anything that you would do. But here, okay. Here is why this makes sense. Because why would you just go print a bunch of pedals, right? You could go buy pedals the normal way. What this does is allows you to customize your customer's product that you would usually sell. Like, and then you can do niche things that would be really almost impossible to think that you would do at scale. So if like you had some weird obscure part that you're like, hey, I need this and I need like 100 of them. And then in normal process, it would cost like $10,000 to $20,000 just to get the molds ready for it and all the other stuff. Whereas this is like, it's much lower barrier to entry. You can like print that out for somebody. You're like, don't go spend, $30,000 with those guys. We will print it and design it for you for $15,000.
Totally. Yeah, it feels like companies would come to you and have you do it. Or like it also almost feels like personalized gifts. Like let's say you did all bike pedals that had your company's logo on the middle of it or whatever, or your bike clubs thing, and it wouldn't cost you, thousands of dollars to get ones like that molded and made. You could just do this real quick and be like, hey, we got it for everyone. They're $30 each.
I think that's where we're headed. So I mean, getting something this down the line, I might do this if in a couple years we start producing.
Blows up and we have a
so which might be a good segue is we're printing this sweet game that we've been building, and I feel like this is a good transition into it, unless we had any other things. I would say my takeaway right now is I am listed.
Where's your head at?
I'm thinking of the bamboo right now. Now I'm not sure this is the exact model of it. I think I want to look into it. It's a little pricey, but I'd be interested at just to do some more research to kind of think it. But I think I'm leaning to the Bamboo Lab style. It seems like at Best Inventions 2022. So if I'm going to go to a 3D printer to a new one, I got to get something that I don't have with this one. If I just got the same thing where it just is one filament style and just extrudes and that's all it does, I feel like it would be like too much of a buildup for something that wouldn't have a good enough payoff, right? So if I got something that had multiple filaments at least, or then you can do new things with it.
Yeah. Like, I mean, to me, one of the most exciting things were some of those like painting style ones that we saw last time, where it was layering the different colors on top of each other, and it sort of made like a flexible, cool colored thing. I could see like taking that and wrapping that around stuff to make like fully 3D printed cool things.
We could do that with this one right here, because all it would do is it would lay one layer down, and then you would change filament and you would lay the next layer down. And what it was doing, it was just making a kind of a 2D image. And I think what they were selling more was the software to do that on a single printer. Whereas this one...
But because, see, you would have to cram each one in there, right? Like, you would have to sit there and wait for it for 40 minutes and then switch it out.
You would have to swap it out,
and then
right?
You would have to do all of that. And you probably wouldn't do it with more than, like, 2 colors, because that would be a pain in the butt.
There's a kaiju print on this one. Yeah, it was like nice. There it is. 70 hours for that kaiju.
Hey, I love it. He's got thumbs up.
He's like,
hey, printed did great.
Come and do the kaiju. But see, like that color. Oh, look at they got a freaking Master Chief. That's like a selling point right there.
Good.
Yeah, I mean, it's looking really cool. I like it. And AI inspected first layer. There's AI inspection. I'm sold. This is the AI stream.
Love it.
No, that's great.
It's like they had to put AI in there somewhere.
All right, I feel like it's time to reveal some of the fun stuff that we've been talking. So it's it's like I said at the beginning stream. Ryan and I talked about this before. So here, let's see if I can quickly go to this.
We're transitioning to AI board game.
AI board game. So I was on travel this week as well for work, and I got to go hang out with Michael Azul yesterday. Nice. So that is part of the cool reveal here, is that Michael, which I don't know if you all know, who's in our chat here, is an amazing board game collector and player, and has really great insights, and has been like part of the stream for quite a bit of time and been able to help us build this game out as we've been working with it. And so one of the things that I had, they hosted me graciously as him and his family yesterday, and I was able to play the board game with Michael in his like sweet board game room. And it was his first like full experience of playing the board game. And so the reveal was that we got to play the board game, and it was, I don't know, I don't want to speak for him, but from some of my questioning, he's like, this is actually pretty fun once we got to the point, and we got to a point where we learned like I would say we got 3/4 of the way done playing the game to where we got to a point where we're like, okay, we would have to fix this thing, and we think we figured out what those last couple steps are to fix this thing to make it a fully playable game.
Amazing. Well, because we needed more we needed more play testing, right, before we did this, and what a perfect person to be able to play test.
And here's the thing is that he helped kind of like get to the point where we can then print a couple versions of this out and actually do play testing with a couple other folks, so we know that we can get it from start to finish of the game now. So as of yesterday, we got to the point, and he gave some really great feedback. And so, like you and I were, and he stayed honest to the game, gave me a lot of, we called it feed forward. So we were able to say, here's where we could go. And he didn't overstep bounds of saying like, oh, we didn't do these sweeping changes, and they're very suggestive. And I was like, and I wanted to make sure that we had some conversations so we could see what our opportunities were for the board game. So I did take I took a shot of him in there. So we gotta go look at the shot in the room,
sweet.
So we could see this here. So I got to switch over to it, and there
amazing.
there he is, and is amazing. And so I mean, there's more board games over there. No, come on, man, it looks good. You knew I was gonna show this. And so, I mean, amazingly, and you can't see it, but he has some really cool board games, and he showed me some other one. Like, we'll talk about Monster board game. He has this awesome one that came from a Kickstarter that's taken years to make, and this guy has made, like, when I saw the game he was showing me, this Monsters one, it just, like, I actually was like, I don't know if I want to show you this game because like ours is so small compared to how amazing it was. He does. So thank you, Michael. I just want to make sure you understand Kingdom Death Monster. So amazing board gameplay. And Talon, we got to throw out some credit to Talon, because Talon has been with us through there, and he also is a big board game fan as well, and he has helped us through this as well.
I feel
so
like
everyone actually in this entire that has supported us has helped us through this. So sorry to embarrass you, Mike, but like I feel like it was really great experience. Like I took this to heart. You had some good things, and so Ryan, this was a full play test with somebody that was on the stream, but they got to palpably touch it and see it.
Right.
So I kind of felt
you have me on pins and needles. I gotta hear the feed.
Yeah. So I mean, I just wanted to show you like this. I think this is the end point. This was this is where we got to the end of the game. So I was talking smack at that point, but or I was saying something ridiculous. But so okay. So we're going. So let's talk about what we learned. It is absolutely fun. Like that was one of the big first things that we got into. Right. And so it took us, what was it, like about, I would say 30 minutes, almost to an hour for me to walk through the instructions with him. So I got to go grab the board because I took notes.
I mean, that makes sense. Like, I feel like when you play a new game, like, I mean, it takes a while to run through of course, Mike has been listening to the stream, so you sort of knew probably the gist of it even.
Yeah,
that's true. You're also BSing, right?
So. We were, but we were kind of, so we got to talk about this because this could be part of what we work on, and we are blowing through time a little bit, but I just wanted to throw out some of the takeaways on the playthrough with you, Ryan. So the instructions we set were actually pretty solid. I'd say a majority of what we pulled together has really good merit. We got everything kind of laid out. There were some initial tips that we want to consider here. And so I have these written down so you don't have to take too many notes on this right now. But one of the first tips that we realized was that as you play the game, like monster placement had to be consistent every single time. So we would roll the dice, and sometimes we would be like row 1, number 6. Or 8, 1, 8. And so if we go over one row and then go 8, you're into one of our corners where monsters can't be put. And so I was like, well, you just get to put it here. And he's like, well, that seems kind of like ambiguous. Like, where do I absolutely put it? Like, so one of the initial tips was be very, very descriptive of what it is. Don't make the players make too many like random decisions, because that ambiguity is going to make it a little bit not fun, and you want to make sure that that's very concrete, that you want to do that.
Yeah. No, that totally good feedback.
And so that was a great one. So thank you on that one.
No squishy rules.
No squishy rules was a good one. So one of the other ones, and I'm just going to kind of randomly, I'm not going to go in the order, but one of the other ones was that when we would get to the action, we called it an action, but then there was these action like cards, and so we needed to call them something different instead of an action, but more of like these like buffs or like augments or something like that. So the action was to pick a card or to fight or to flee. So we would be, and so if the action was to pick a card, you'd pick an augment.
Thanks for hanging out, Talon.
All right, man. Have a good one. Hey, Talon, do you have one more minute? Are you still there? Because I just wanted to show you something that you might appreciate from a 3D printing lens. If you're still there, let me show you this real quick, just because it's kind of cool. So let me look at that. So one of the things that I did do is print some of the cards, or at least the chips. And so I wanted to show you how that came out.
Do it.
Okay, so I'm going to flip this board back over. So what we had done is, whoops, don't knock that over, is originally I printed out these tokens that you can see here, and or these, I guess you would call them the chips for the board. And what I had done is I had made them a little bit more indented, or like they kind of came out on the board, and I put these weird little squares on it so they would sit and they wouldn't like rock on the table.
Oh yeah. Great.
So they
Great
looked
idea.
they looked, pretty good like that. But the problem is that the little corners didn't look as good and everything like that. So I swapped it up, and this is what I was going to show you, Talon, is this is the chips with a black filament back and then the white filament on the top.
That looks great. And
And
they're
thinner.
like filled in, and they're what is that part sticking out, or is that part going?
It is like,
is the black part
it's indented by just 2 layers, and so if you have a character, it like can sit right on it. It doesn't get stuck in there.
Perfect.
It's like it works perfect.
Wonderful.
And you can, like, this was printed in like an hour or less.
Bravo, that's great.
So and they're thinner, and I don't know if you can see too much on this side. Is that
because we're gonna have a shitload of them?
Yes.
So there's gonna have to be like stacked, and we don't want them to take very long.
So that
great job.
Absolutely. So Talon, thank you for watching. I just wanted to show you that because it was really cool. We were able to nail that down as we got that. Wood components. I'm pretty efficient at your laser.
neat.
Hey, see, that's awesome. That's awesome.
Wood
Well,
component.
we got some feedback from the community, and we'll talk about that in a second. So thanks, Talon. I know you got to roll. So good luck on whatever you got rolling it on for the evening. We love that you still hang out here with us. It's awesome to continue this going. We're gonna have a special guest, one of the professors from CSU Pueblo, this next time.
We keep saying that, but it's
we said it.
happening.
We was actually going to come to this show, but we canceled on him to push him to the next one just because we knew we were remote. We really wanted to be in person when we had that one. So thanks, Talon. You have a good evening. So continuing on with some of the tips that, and I'm not going to go through every single one that we came out with, but I'd say the biggest one. There's 2. Number 1, where we got stuck. And this is Ryan. I was really excited to get to this point. Sleep is all you planned. Yes, is so Michael and I were playing, and we were likely getting tired because we talked a little bit. It was time to go to bed and things like that. But it did get to this point where it got a little stale. But it wasn't at the beginning. It was near the end. So we were getting the parts, and so this is still up for discussion. That's why I wanted to bring it up tonight with you. Was we got to a point where we found all the parts. So there was no reason to explore the board anymore. Because there was no reason to go start flipping other things. We had pathways and ways to get to the room and get the parts there. So what we lost was this like sense of exploration across the board. So one of the takeaways that we were considering was that all the parts have to be under the chips on the board, because then it forces
Okay.
you to go and try to explore to uncover those chips. And that was like part of the fun. And so, of course, if you get all those chips undone, that's what you want to do so that you can then get to the end game scenario. So
Right.
so if you had events card where you just got a part or something like that, like it was almost too easy, and it cut your sense of adventure across the board. So
I I feel like that's a great way to do it. Do you think that adds time to it, or do you think well, because I guess it would be random, right? Because you could uncover them quickly or slowly. So
right.
I'm cool with that. I like the idea of more exploration than not than luck,
And,
right?
and one of the other concepts we had too, and I think you and I have talked about this before too, is like, how do the chips get on the board? And I actually, Mike gave this one as an insight, is that you could still have an event card that comes out with the part, but you don't get the part. You put the part somewhere on the board, or a monster gets the part, or something like that. But
Okay.
so what was cool about our playthrough yesterday is Mike killed a monster, and I was like, sweet, I'm gonna go with monster kills me instantly, and I had a part. So it was like, it was the cool thing where it got the part, we had to fight the monster to get the part back. So and there was some tension, so there was a little ambiguity on how those monsters like track us, so just cleaning up the rules on how the monsters track anybody
Yeah.
was there. I think we had it pretty much tuned in, and by the time we played, I don't think that it was really too much ambiguity. It was just like, what is, so we would say that you had the turn and move on the monster. Every monster could do a move and a turn every single time, and that's what we wrote in the rules. And so sometimes, though, it made it sense that they would rotate the piece they're on and then move, or they would move and then rotate the piece they're on. So it was like the monster did have two moves every single time, and that did make it more fun to have that happen.
Okay, cool. So I like that, and they can do either one. Is what you're saying,
No, they
right?
do
They
both.
can either do, or they can either turn their piece and then move, right? Or
Yes. Oh,
move and then turn their
yes.
piece,
Yes.
like, and then move again, or so they're not moving, right? They only get one move and one turn.
Correct. One
Okay.
move and one turn. The
And do
only
they get a flip? They don't get a flip though.
So what we were saying is that yes, they do get a flip. So
Okay.
when they get to a piece, it's flipped. Now they know what their piece is on. So now it's the monster's turn, so they can get a flip and a move. Now if they're on two parts that are like already connected, they just mean like forego the flip, because it's easy. Like the whole goal is that monsters are always tracking you. So as long as they make that move closer to you, one move closer to you, then their essential turn is over. So it's like, that's the goal of it.
And it's bad because the player is doing it to themselves, right? Like they have to be the one sort of choosing how you're flipping it, because I mean, in some ways you could be like, haha, I flipped this the wrong way and he's going down. It's sort of the honor system in that sense
Well,
too.
so we talked about this, and this was a great.
Yeah.
This is another
Is
great tip.
making decisions for the monster.
Is that
Exactly.
once you go to the monster mode, that the table has to be as honest as possible, and they assume the mind of the monster as the table, and you always have to like say, nope, this is the closest one to do. But then
Right.
Mike threw this one out there. If you wanted to make the game complex and say add a fifth player, that the fifth player or sixth player could control the monster.
Well, and you know what? Like that is like those video games that are big out now, like Ash versus the Evil Dead or whatever. The games are where one person ends up randomly being chosen as the monster, and everybody else are the camp counselors, right? And then you're Freddy. And so then you go
Yeah.
out and you try to kill all the camp, and so it's sort of like that, right? Like one person ends up being the monsters and plays as the monsters. I could see that, especially if you were like, hey, if you have uneven players and you want to try it, like an odd amount of players,
I
that could be
totally,
cool.
it would be cool too. Is like if you added that element, maybe you had like a similar to the
It would
characters.
it would be boring. It would be boring for the monsters for the most
Only
part,
if you
though,
kept
right?
the current rule set. So I would say if you're
Sure.
in the monster mode, maybe you had like a similar card of like, the player gets to do all these extra kind of moves, but a monster maybe has one thing where like it could always jump a card or jump a thing or do a thing.
Right. Yeah, they would have to have something more interesting to do,
Yeah.
right? Than it. But
Yeah.
but for this one, I like the idea of it still being. I mean, for the most part, we're going to have at least some rule set where it's just based on whatever the team, whatever the player does, right? And
Sure.
moves for the monster.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
why it would be a cool like digital video game too, right?
So I thought that was really cool. Those are some really great takeaways that we got to. There was a couple other ones that we can kind of dig into, and I think some of them were like nuanced for balance and things as we started moving forward. So one of the go ahead.
Any real quick?
Yeah.
Well, we'll get to it. We'll get to it. Go ahead.
So I was gonna say, like, the only other one that it was more of just a clarification of the rules to solidify is that you could only ever hold 3 cards. So if you get hold cards, you'd only hold 3. And we kind of were thinking you can use a hold card at any point in the game whenever you want. So let's say you just got beat up by a monster and you're about to die, and I have a card that says plus 3 hit points. I could be like, oh man, dude, I'm giving you my plus 3 at any point. It could be in the middle
for anyone.
Yeah, for anyone on the board, because like a lot of games would do that. Like then it helps with that collaborative element. And but the other thing that we kind of discovered and we thought was really cool that we didn't quite do, but we actually had a card that would do it, is some of those action cards were negative. They were almost like detrimental to the player. But we were saying like it could become what Mike was talking as a trash card. So let's say you had 2 holds that was like plus 3 and an extra 90, and then the other one was like you lose a 90, and it's a hold card. You have to hold it because you have it, and so you have to like be like, all right, this is the turn I'm going to use my trash card on, and I'm not going to use my 90.
Oh, sure.
So like it gave
it doesn't matter at that point.
And so
like, I'm hanging out in a corner, so I'll just use this garbage card.
Right, and so the strategy is that those augment cards or whatever we're going to call them are going to give us a little bit more ability to like make decisions as a team together, and it builds that cross play on there. So anyways, I think those are some of the high levels. Mike,
wait. So I have one other question. Okay, so how was the enemy? Did it feel like there was enough enemies on the board? Did it feel like them moving towards you in the speed that they were doing was like challenge enough as you were playing it?
I and maybe Mike has a good idea on this, but yeah, it was it initially when we started it. It was almost we forgot to do the monster things the first couple turns that we were doing. We forgot to like do it. And then as we start to get into the beat, so I think, you know, on the cards that tell you have to do this, this, and this, we should probably put a little reminder like move that. I think once we had so many monster cards in the event deck, like it was perfect. Like it was like, because they kept coming, you're like, shit, another monster. Like you're starting to feel overwhelmed. And I think we just need to make sure there's like ways that you could resurrect some of the monsters, and so you could keep the challenge of that up. That was really, I think it was pretty balanced.
Did you get to any end game?
So
like, or did you collected all of the parts?
We got basically up to the point where it would have been end game, but that's where we kind of felt the fun dropped, because there was no reason to explore the board, and there was enough board on there that we were like, man, now we're just like trying to like rush to get everything to this room. So if we had to explore and force to explore the cards, because we got 2 of the parts from the deck, from the event deck, so that's where we were like, definitely do that. Oh, and the other thing is we don't think monsters should ever spawn from the it should all be kind of coming out of the event deck.
Okay. No monsters out of under the cards.
I mean, because an example is one time there was a monster that stepped on a card and they flipped it, and it was a monster card too, so it like nullified it out. And then there was a couple of times where it didn't feel right that there, like, you flipped one and there was a monster, and we talked about the insta fight, and so you and I had that. But it almost felt like the pursuing monsters were good. We could probably put one card with one monster under it or something like that, or even like the Dr. Frost one. We were thinking like that would have been really cool.
Oh,
So,
right. Okay.
but
Just Dr. Frost.
like there's a one Dr. Frost slide and like he's like uber difficult and you really don't want him to get you because he would be really hard or something like that. So,
I could see that. And then so if monsters aren't underneath cards, are there just probably more monsters in the event card or in the
mhm.
event cards? Just there's more of them in there. It's more higher chance, I guess.
And what we were thinking like and this is based off our prior conversations if you remember I don't think we ever got to an event card that had this but one that would resurrect a monster at like half health. I can't remember if we have that as an event card, but it might be good for us to like always keep cycling the monsters back into the world so you can regen as a human or whatever, and so the monster should probably regen at some point too.
And you know what? Like you were talking about, I feel like you've had this. We have had this every time that we played. Is there's like an end getting tired, right? Or
Mm-hmm.
it's like taking too long, or it's doing something. I wonder if we should revisit at some point your idea of like taking the whole half of the board away or something, and it's just like a race between you and the next hallway at some point, and you're like you have to get every person across, and it's like a brand new sort of gameplay element happens at the very end to sort of spice it up a little for the very last
For the end game part. Well,
hurrah.
in honestly, the way you had written in the instructions, I could probably go over instructions really quick. So let me do this.
Because we had whole cards that you would have to like you would have end game cards that you would pick, and there would be like different version. I wonder if it's just too long. Like if it just as soon as you
No,
get all four Game Boy or sled parts,
yeah.
it's just a thing happens,
Well,
and then now bam, you're in it.
what you wrote here was kind of cool. Yeah, we'll talk.
Clock,
Yeah,
right?
we will definitely talk about the clock because I think like the end game doesn't have to be super epically different. It literally would be like one of these like scenarios where you're basically like you get to the corner room, or like let's say you get the sled done, and then you flip the scenario card at the end, and it's like, oh, the fuel for the room is in all four corners of the map. Each of your characters have to go to four corners of the map to collect the fuel and then make it back to the room. Or everyone had to meet in the middle to be able to fill up a vial of Christmas magic to leave. So
Right.
it's like it's the same board. You still have the same paths that you can get to, and it makes it kind of a quick rush. You're like, oh, we made the path to get there. We'll have these people do it. Monsters are still pursuing at that point, and like,
Okay.
and you're still trying to get out. So I think like just we have to simplify it. But that was where I wanted to transition to was the clock because like that is
Yeah.
so pertinent to making this game's intensity and it work. So we ran it without the clock last night, but we think that is the element that is the like that is going to get our MVP across the board because that is what's going to make you want to explore. It's going to make you want to fight quicker. It's going to because you could just like be running around the monsters until the right moment.
Totally.
And
Yeah, that's true.
that is the last thing that I think like solidifies it. And so like again, I was saying Mike was really gracious about not like over giving ideas that would just like blow up what we've talked about, and we stay true to the AI. So that's I think an important element of this is that it was
Yeah.
like very good feed forward and critique on like here are how things would progress. Here are other really successful games have worked with this scenario in the past. Yeah, the clock would
Yeah.
be enemy 1 and Dr. Frost number 2. I mean,
Totally.
and so we were thinking the clock could be really cool too because and I was doing some calculations. So if you had a clock and you run it forward 2 minutes, that's 30 turns. Every turn you go 2 minutes, right? Ahead.
Okay.
Right. So 60 minutes in an hour, so
Right.
30 minutes in an hour. So every turn gets is basically 2 minutes.
And you're like you're physically like clicking a thing
Right.
forward.
So my
one click or
so my
something,
turn
or-
goes and the clock goes 2 minutes forward. Now you do it, the clock goes 2 minutes forward. And so and once it hits midnight, like that's where the Christmas magic is released and it's no, and like Dr. Frost becomes immortal and you can't kill him ever or something. And like game over.
Yeah,
like
we
whatever the
we
thing
let
is.
ChatGPT come up with the story of that.
Totally.
But I like that. Like I'm trying to think how like I'm just like the physical mechanism of it is messing with me. Like how like is it like a thing that you're like a physical clock that you're rotating?
Mm-hmm.
Is it like I want it to be like you hit a thing and like balls fall down into something, but like I know that that's way too complicated.
Well,
but like
yeah, like I'm trying to think. You know how they have the like the little spinning wheels on like life games or like games like
Yeah.
that? Like imagine that, but we 3D printed this circle. Yeah,
Yeah,
a pachinko machine.
style.
But you printed a circle, and then every time you pushed the hand forward, it would like click into these things. So the clicks would be the 2 minutes. So it would be like a
Yeah.
30-minute thing. And so this is where it's cool because I died in the middle of the game, and so I had that was great because then I lost all
Okay.
my health. Started with 5, was able to kind of move back through it. I ended up getting health because I killed something, and it like that was a good balance. I think that was pretty good there. But if you die, you go 5 minutes ahead or like 2 clicks or something.
I see. Yeah, like in between. And we would just, and I think we talked about this before, that we would just change it based on how many players there were,
Yes.
right? Or is it do you if you play 2-player, do you still have the same amount of time?
So it would be
to get through the
30
game?
minute, yeah, 30 minutes or 30 turns. But then if it was more players, you'd actually have to have more turns. More, it would be more, because each turn, like if you did it, well, I guess you could. That's actually a good point. As I think about it, and I say that out loud now, like you have more people trying to do the same thing. I think you'd have to balance it where they have a little bit more time.
Yeah. I wonder what that and maybe this is a question for Mike in the chat. Is like, do other games do that? Like I feel like other games have time things. Is that like how do they track time?
This isn't
in
any other
games? Like,
game, Ryan.
turns? You know? Yeah, oh yeah, I'm sure it's a unique snowflake. But like other people must I think like sometimes don't they have like a slider that goes across the edge of the board. I think I have seen sliders like that where you click up a slider along the edge of something, but we don't really have a board. Ours is more just you lay it out on a table.
And so I think that's where we want to go right now. I'd say, we're in about an hour 45 minutes. My hope was that we would be able to take a little bit of time here to figure out what the clock mechanism would look like.
Yeah, can we find something that would work for an MVP?
Right.
On what?
And maybe I can see it in my head of how this would work, because I'm just thinking like you print a circle, it has a hole in it, and you click in the hand, right? And now it's this like arm that you're just like moving around the dial. It's just like an old clock, and you just have to move it each time. And there's just all the tick marks. Like it could be just as simple as looking like legitly a clock, and you just have to have it so that you click it along the whole time.
See, I'm thinking it's a more like it's a circle, like you're saying, right?
Okay.
But it's sort of printed up, and it has 1 through 30 written across it all the way around.
Okay.
And you have a thing, and it's only a little window is showing, and the thing that you're turning is on top, and it's revealing the next number, like
In
30,
countdown or
go,
something.
Click, and then it's like you're at 28, and then you're like
That's
click,
cool.
down to 26. That's kind of what I was thinking. But I would be interested to see what's on Bumpable.
We got some, at least something to look at. I think we're going mostly today and all talk on this, but that's fine because I think we needed that.
Yeah.
Let's okay.
Well, yeah. I mean, I feel like we can look at what these will look like because, like you said, that's a big part of it to get it done. Everything else feels a little bit more like adjusting what the rules are. Right?
Sure.
Or dialing in the rule set as opposed to, oh my God, here's a whole big thing. Even though actually more work will have to be done with the actual like character tiles that you get.
I feel like that's the easier part now.
Yeah.
So okay, here's kind of an example. Like it's like gears or like you're turning certain things. Now this seems like even more complex. Like in that, I don't know if this is
Oh,
even that
sure.
game.
Huh.
Like,
Or
like
what's that one?
I wonder if yeah, because like if you move this thing through there, it's like it's mapping things to things in this. But
Oh, sure.
let's say like
That's probably even more complicated.
I wonder if I just put like randomly like board game clock or something like that. Or yeah, board.
Board game clock or like board game time dial.
There's got to be.
See, because these are going to be clocks.
Well, and it's, I mean, this is perfect timing. This is kind of what I'm saying. Like, it would be simple like that, but you would have it like, because what I'm imagining is.
Wait, more like down. Look at the one right to the right of this picture, in the thumbnails below. Right there.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
like, see that blue one
Yes.
on the right?
Yes, like that.
Yeah, like, and you would move it along, and there would just be 30.
Yes.
They would have 30 clicks around the outside.
Correct. That's how you do it. And so what I was thinking with that is it goes with the theme, because I don't know, and maybe this is my experience with like Christmas, is that when you go to grandparents' house, there was always a clock and you'd only get to open presents at a specific time. And so
a countdown. Oh, now it's
right.
26 days, or those advent calendars.
In the lore, and this is us putting a little human into it, but we're saying like you're counting down to Christmas Day. And like Christmas magic gets released on Christmas Day, right? And so if it gets to Christmas Day, you're done. Christmas magic has now consumed all the monsters. They're immortal, and you can't kill them, and you're done.
I mean, I assume it's not. Is it? Are we saying that players are taking 30 days to get out of here?
No, it's not 30 minutes. So like what we're saying is it's 30. So it's 30 minutes, and it's almost like it's technically saying you have 1 hour to get the sleigh parts and get out of there. And but every move takes 2 minutes. And so we're at 11 o'clock at night in a facility trying to find our way to get the parts and fight the monsters, and that's what's happening. I don't know. That's kind of the way I was thinking about it.
Mike Azul in the chat was like, "Oh, the advent calendar could be different monsters or bad things coming out at different days in the advent calendar." That's maybe a version 2.
That's the upgrade pack for it, so that you would.
Yeah, that's when real people take it and start designing things for it.
Yeah, I mean.
Okay, so
awesome.
go to Thunkable. I want to see if there's something.
Well, okay. Before
whatever,
we do that, I wanted to show you one other thing. So we talked about Tildays, right?
Mm-hmm.
Before. So I know there's a lot of text on y'all's screen, but Tildays was when I was getting on my whole Reddit kick and talking about all that kind of craziness. Let me see if I can zoom in one more. So I asked on Tildays, any experience with making a board game, and we're not going to read through the whole thing. So I basically went through it just saying like the premise of what our thing was, and I said, what are the most fun and exciting or challenging aspects of any tabletop or board games you play? What keeps you engaged? So it was just more of like a thing to the community. So I had some really good things. A lot of people are like, "Oh, you got my my curiosity peaked here." But one of the things, and this is what I wanted to bring up with you, is before we get to the clock, was they're like, "I don't have a 3D printer."
Sure.
How do you do that? So Mike Zool, he gave us some insights. He was like, there's apparently this thing, it's like Tabletop Studio, and you can make it in a virtual, you can make this game virtually. So that might be a way you can consider that.
I have heard that.
So so as you started going through it, people gave up some things, some really interesting things. So if you're interested, it's in this games.tabletop of Tildays of this what the experience was. And so there were some really good interactions with a few folks. So there's one person that I think we could actually even talk to and try to even get on the show if we ever wanted to. But they talked about how they illustrated a handful of board games. And they said there was a couple that have gone to market. They had designed the rule book. They designed some of the designs. And so if we ever needed to get some insights, yeah, we'd check it out, but you don't have an account. Somebody will give you an invite over there. There's only 2 people I gave invites, and the 2 of them I'm talking to right now and chatting with. So Ryan and Mike as well. But So he was explaining this game he was going, and so the game is called Dead and Breakfast, and it was, and so just to throw it out there, I don't know if you ever heard about it. So this guy made this cool game, and he made all this graphic arts for it. Like he made all the
Oh,
cards,
neat.
he made all the
It's
things.
kind of it's like it has our little meme, or wait, what are those
Meeples,
little guys
the little
called? Those
meeple things.
meeples.
So I just
Yeah.
thought it was cool that like in this community, and this is what and so like I'm half kind of like simping for tildes here, but no, but seriously, like I appreciated that I had some really good insights from these folks because this guy was like, hey, here's some cool insights, and he gave some perspective. So if you're interested in it, there was some great insights of how you may approach this. There was a few people that like, I love the idea of print and play. That's like totally a cool thing. You guys are doing the right thing. And I didn't even tell them really too much about double drop down at this point. So I might go in there and
Yeah,
like, hey,
sure.
check this out later. Because I wasn't trying to be like all, hey,
Totally.
come and watch our stream kind of thing. But really good insights on ways that you can kind of consider building the
Well,
game. So I just want to throw
and
that
I
out there.
do think it emphasizes the point of I would love to be able to make this in a way that somebody could bring it to like a library, and be like,
Yes.
hey, I don't know too much about 3D printing, but I have these 3 files that I would love to print.
Precisely, like that's how I would say, like, you got to be able to find a way to do it. Somebody said like, can you just make it paper craft? Maybe that's a way to do it. And I was like, well, that might be a kind of perspective. All right, so where we could go is we'll go to printables. And so printables is the Prusa. So Joseph Prusa is the guy that said, these all other sites are sucking, so we're going to give you this opportunity to kind of have this other community. It's taking forever to load. So hold on, let me go over here. I'm going to log in so nobody can see me. Logging in my account.
Is this the same thing from Prusa Printing?
Yeah, so
Printer that we saw?
basically Prusa, the guy, he makes filament. He makes this site, and he makes a printer. So he kind of has his like monopoly on it, but he's known for being very, very, very good at making these things. Like tolerances on the filament is really good. So we could what would we search on here? Like clock or something? Timer. We'll start with that. So you're gonna get actual time. Well, there's kind of like a little 3D one.
3D timer.
I mean, that's a good start to kind of think about it. But that one looks like it actually has parts.
If you
like,
could extend it out a little bit or something.
and I think we could totally do this. Like I have full confidence in our ability to like put something together. So that's a great example of what I think we're expecting.
What would be
timer?
like a board game clock or something?
Yeah, like I don't know. I mean, that might be too specific, but we could try it. Oh, I just said board game cock G.
This is a different.
Wrong.
different
No,
set
my
of
it's
different set of
funny.
search
I had to put I'm gonna just put board game in. I've had to okay, so there's board game. There might be some things in here. Oh, just as we're looking at this is, I know this is Catan, but that is how I imagine our corner pieces to look. Like
yeah, that would be badass.
3D. I think that we need to make that happen. So
Oh,
there's
man, you're right.
there's a lot of meeples in there. I'm not seeing that there's any kind of like clock. Designing a board game project. See, I think we really did. Like the fact that we're at this point and it's that playable, and I really respect Mike and his ability to like give us some feedback, especially with that immense collection of like board games.
Yeah,
Like
that's what really puts the weight behind it. Because, I played some board games, but not nearly that many.
So
what else, like clock?
well, let me just put clock, because I never put that in there.
Ooh, educational clock?
Yeah, like that's honestly as simple as it could be. Now this one
What is
has
the
all these
back?
gears and stuff in it, which you wouldn't have to get that crazy.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Because I'm pretty sure this is like,
because it's an educational one. It's like trying to show you how clocks work.
yeah, and have all the gears in it. Oh man, this is what I'm thinking. Like, this might be it. Like this is a gear clock, but you're moving this thing around it. like this is the kind of like it's getting really close. Really in my mind when I see it, this style with the Roman numerals on it is what I was thinking. And then these little
like old timey like Santa style.
exactly. And I guess you could put gears in it to make it like increment the right amount because I think it's going to be important that it has to like click or at least it has a like in this case, let's get a little closer. See how's these like 5-minute
Yeah.
increments like ours
Well,
would just
it has to be easy to move it one little increment.
correct.
Right? Like, and so I don't know if that needs like a big like thing on the top where you're like click and you can really feel it go click into the next piece or something.
I think we're close. So I mean this is giving me confidence that there's some layer of like and so how I would probably approach this is we would go to Midjourney, right? And say like, oh, that's all in your face. Let me take this here and let's just I mean, we can roll the dice and see what it comes out with. Like if we said like clock face, like what would we say for Midjourney? So the first time we're using AI tonight, but like I'm pretty sure there's a way to throw this out there. Clock face, like Roman numeral. That was what I was thinking. Roman numeral.
Christmas horror.
We can even. Well, let's because it is Christmas horror. But if it was a clock face, it would be just like in the. Like it wouldn't necessarily have to be Christmas, right?
Yeah, well, I feel like that's what we're getting from looking at 3D models.
But then it's gonna be like a weird Santa clock. Like if so, I'm just imagining you're like you want it just to be a clock, and then we could add decoration to it.
Yeah.
Like literally, this is it. Like you just go in and you pick one of these, and then this is what we get 3D print. Those are actually really cool. I like those already. 46%.
Yeah, it's almost like the hard thing is going to be finding like the mechanism that makes it so that it clicks over one, right? Because then you'd be like, I'll just put whatever Roman numerals or whatever kind of styled hands I want.
Well, but okay, AI may have just helped us. See how there's this middle part right here, and then there's this outer part. Like, what if the middle part just clicked, around? Like you would like fit it in, and there was like an arrow or something, and that's what did the little.
Totally, I could see that.
Clicks around. Those are really cool. I like all those, and they actually seem to do the numbers right.
Oh yeah,
almost. Except for this is not Roman numeral. Look at 4.
Oh yeah, no, that's not how it was supposed to work.
No, I mean, but it's close. It's
fun. Yeah, none of them do 4, right?
They put 4. They have no derp numbers. All right, so I mean, let's land on this idea. The concept of using the clock makes sense.
Yeah, and the idea that I think we want to start with it having 30 turns. Right?
I think we gotta test play a 30 turn game.
Yeah, because I assume you guys weren't counting how many turns you had done.
No, after we did it, we're like, how many turns was that? No, but 30 seems about the right amount.
I guess we don't have even a full playthrough on because we would like just look at the VOD last time we played it.
Yes,
but I guess we haven't played it all the way through.
We haven't. Well, and so I don't think we've ever like every time I've played it. So I played it with my son when it was at a very very early stage, just even to see if like and so when I played it with him, it was more can we make moves like. Can we even get through like us going back and forth 4 or 5 times with moves? And when that somewhat worked and it seemed like it was like working, we're like, good, that was great. And then he was like, I'm bored, and I'm like, all right, fine, because it did like the objective and the tension wasn't there. And then as we evolved the enemies and you and I played it and Tess played it, we were able to see it, but we were kind of like talking each other through. And so then I that's what I'm saying. I value Mike's perspective from like an outside like look at it and being able to just say, all right, let's explain the rules, and it felt like a board game. You know how when you sit down with somebody, you're like, all right, here's the thing, and then you take some time, you drink some like liquor, and you're kind of
Totally.
explaining it. So that got through, and then even at the end of that, I was like, oh man, I actually kind of was like, oh, man, I'm wasting somebody's night. I feel bad.
We don't have to play.
Yeah, but then when we played it and I wasn't explaining the whole damn time and babbling around, it really felt like we were making some progress in it. And then I was having fun, and I was like, "Are you having fun? This kind of feels like it's fun, right? Like like it feels like we're playing a board game." And so that's I think the moment where I was like, I can't wait to have this conversation because now we have some good content of where we can take this. I think we've got to the stage of saying yes. This is a viable game. This is the element that's going to add that attention. And so if we do that playthrough, I think it's going to help it. And then with the addition of maybe having the parts under some of those things, that's gonna take us where we need to go.
Yeah, and I think explaining some of the rules and having that rule sheet of like, here's the things that you do on each turn, right? Which is going to be even more now because it's going to be move the monsters and turn the wheel, right? Like, so you got to have, here's what you do every single time. I feel like that'll be important. But so what do we want to say? I feel like we should say that what we're going to do for next time. Do we want to try to have a clock built for next time?
Well, and that's what I was gonna say, and I know we were gonna cut the stream a little shorter tonight just due to the remoteness of this. And so if there's any kind of like theme we want to take away, yes, by next time. I think what we might want to do even now, I was thinking is do we want to I think it's maybe too late to jump in and try what would a clock. Oh, by the way, here are the pieces if you were curious.
Ah, cool.
So this was like the first round of them, and it was a little deeper here, and I took into account what you had originally said of like, oh, it's too deep. And then one other thing I had to do is see how I put this like edge right here so it doesn't go off the edge, because I was afraid that you might be able to see the edges and like inadvertently cheat. So I was trying to be super intentional to be like, when this card is flipped over, you cannot see what kind of chip it is going to be. And that should help us get there.
No, that's a great idea.
And so I think that if you feel like that's a print, we've nailed those pieces, and we could probably have those go to print.
Yeah, perfect. I think so.
Okay. These were cool. Yeah. This was a neat idea, but the little squares and all that other stuff, like it was a good first try.
And the only thing that I would say against the newest ones, is that they have to be two color, right? So if you were new to this, would that be hard? Like,
if you printed them out non-two color, you would still see those shapes. It just would be
okay.
It would be the same as what these looked like with it like up.
Yeah.
It was cool. Like it could go that way. You would totally be able to see what kind of things they are. So that's a cool thing. So what I was going to say is that as you get into this, and let's say we were going to go build like a clock. If I went to create, it's funny because it's like every time like when Talon leaves, I'm like, I can use Tinkercad now.
My crutch is...
But you know what I was noticing, and it's kind of funny, is that, oh shit, I just think I'm going to create a circuit. No, okay. Is that Tinkercad is starting to get some tools that are going to be closer to of some of these other things. And you can take Tinkercad now and put it into Fusion 360. So I don't think he knows that.
Okay, cool.
Let me just see. They have this shape generator here. I wonder if I put like clock in here, if they already have one.
That seems like something people would want.
Oh, they have an alarm clock in here. There it is, Ryan. Done.
Perfect.
Print.
Now, put a Santa put Santa colors on that thing, and good. How does it move?
It doesn't. Yeah. It doesn't. I'm pretty sure it doesn't.
It doesn't move. It's just a thing. Okay. Perfect.
There's our clock. Board game. Oh man, he has no depth. No. What I was trying to do is like, if I were to build a clock, I think if I go back to just basic shapes, you would just pull out like like a circle, right? You kind of keep.
I think the hardest thing would be able to make it click in this place, as opposed and maybe just for the MVP, right?
Right.
You just make it where you
Because
just
you
move
you
it.
don't want it to move each time. And so
Because you might also find out, oh, that's not enough turns, or that's way too many turns, right? And then
Right.
you would have to change all of the where it was clicking into.
sure. And yeah, I'm not going to go to the level of doing this, but my original thought, and this might be kind of to help you think it through. So this is going to be really kind of ghetto how I did this. Is like you could create, oh, I'm not going to rotate these. But you put these little like pegs here, right?
Yeah.
And then that way, let's say you got the rotations right, and I'll probably use actually Fusion 360 for this because it would be better. So if you imagine all these pegs around that board, and then you pull in like your arm, which it's fine, I'll put it right on here. So if this was an arm, and down a little bit, like, and we would just rotate it. It would almost be like flexible enough that every time you rotated it, you should hypothetically, I don't know where the rotation point's going to be on this, so it's probably
Like it needs to be a point, right? So that the tip can flex.
for sure. And like I'm just doing this so fast, like yeah, I would
Totally.
probably have to pull like a triangle version of it in. But yeah, like you're
Right.
100% right. Like we would be able to make that happen.
Yeah, and I think that would be perfect just for the the version 1 of this, right? To play test and to give out.
Yeah, I mean honestly, and I move the circle here. If you had this in the circle, and we just put like a little peg, and you shove that thing in there, like
Yeah.
wouldn't that kind of work as you turn it? You just like click it in between these little pieces, and you just make sure it does that, right?
They would just have to be like barely raised at all, right? So
Right.
you
It
could
would be
kind of
just
like,
enough that
yeah,
because
just
like
to sort of hold it in spot.
I think what would probably have the issue is like if you didn't do that and you accidentally hit the clock or something and then you lose your place and you're like, God bless
Right.
America, like where were we at?
Yeah, because it's not going to be built into a board, right?
No.
You know, so normally you would have like, so you'll have to build like a, I don't know, like a base for it or something. I would think maybe.
And I think this. I mean, this just sits off to the side of the board. So that's
Yeah.
it. So if we're talking about next thing, because that's where we're wrapping up here, is like the clock
Yeah.
for sure,
Totally.
and then the other component I think has got to be those little the game boards. And we talked
Yeah.
about, and we didn't get to this, but what are your buffs? So if you're holding a shotgun or you're holding an axe, does it give you,
What do
you
you
know,
get?
what do you get
Yeah.
from that? I was thinking like it couldn't, maybe we don't do all weapons and some other things, like you have like a pogo stick, and I'm not saying that we really have to have a pogo stick, but that gives you the ability to jump over a block. Or
Oh, sure.
so you got like your weapon buff or your jump buff or some other kind of like invisibility cloak, and like we come up with just enough things is that you could pass through an enemy with your cloak or something like that, or choose to
I
fight them.
like that idea.
So I think we
you
just
could just add more, right? Like you could just add a new weapon and add a new card, like buff
Mhm.
for it, right? Like a new explanation. Of it.
right. So we just need to get like, so I think that's it. Once you get all that, so we got all the card flips that would happen on the board. The board flips or get the parts.
Mhm.
You get the clock to do your timing, and then we figure out your buffs, and we have the game. We're there.
Yeah. We figure out, well, because we'd have to do like what are the in-game scenario,
Which you
where
already have
things
in the
like that are happening.
instructions. Like go to the
I
corners,
guess
go to
we-
the middle,
Yeah, and come back
and
or something,
and then just
like,
make
where
it
they
back
would
to the
just-
sleigh. Because like
Yeah.
it could be as simple as like you flip the end card scenario. Like here's how I would imagine this would happen. Is let's say you flip the end card scenario, and you get to that point, and it would say, oh, your things are in the four corners of the room. Your fuel for your things are in all four corners, and then there's even a 3D printed fuel thing you put in the four corners, and like you always have 4 fuel things that you have to get. I was actually thinking it would be cooler if it was like vials, and you had to collect Christmas magic to make your magical sleigh fly away or something
Oh,
like
like
that.
work or something.
Yeah.
Well, see, that's what I all feel like it has to be. We have to let ChatGPT come up with lore because that's what it's been doing the best at is
We
coming
will
up with funny lore for it. But it's just like, what are the thing? What are the what is the MacGuffin that you're going after? Right? Is it
yeah.
four things? Is it four things at all corners? Is it an enemy? Is it getting to a place? Is it collecting a thing?
I think it's getting those four things because then
Yeah.
it like it gives an objective for each player. You still
Right.
have the turn, like like you created the sleigh, and now the clock has gone back, 20 minutes or whatever. You have 20 minutes to
Yeah.
escape. You used your because you put the sleigh together, you did something, and like every scenario is like. Is it the four corner scenario? Is it the middle one, or is it that you all go to this thing or do that? Like simple, just enough that you have to go do one of those things. It also draws you to trying to clear the board as much as possible because then your end game scenario might be all four corners. So you're like, let's make sure we have paths to all four rooms in case end game scenario is this. Because I think we want to draw people to like still want to uncover the board, and originally, and I think I was still kind of on it, like the game board would change and everything, but that might just be too much. And by the time you're 45 minutes in, like you just want to like you've strategically made this cool maze on the board.
Right.
And now this is when you kind of leverage it. And so maybe your strategy is thinking you're going to get the four corners. So you made everyone, and you turn it over and it was like meet in the middle. And you're like,
Right. Or kill Dr. Frost.
yeah, or
right?
whatever that is. And so then like your strategy is you're just trying to anticipate one of those scenarios, what it might be.
Because I could see if you have to kill Dr. Frost and he's super hard, you'd be like, please don't get that one because we died a lot or something, right? Or
Or
you'd be like, or we don't have very much of the board uncovered. So if we get Dr. Frost, that's better because we could just run and kill him and then come back as opposed to having to get to all four corners.
and I almost could say that I kind of like the idea that you always have to do something with Dr. Frost in some capacity because like that's the whole point of the game. It's like
But I think I think all of them. I think you could do other things where you're like collecting vials or whatever, and that like
you still
makes it so that it destroys the
Oh,
you
I
could
see
do a
what
thing
you're
where
saying.
it destroys the whole like thing and it kills Dr. Frost, right? Like I don't know if
I agree, and I think that, but what I guess I'm getting at is that every scenario should like spawn Dr. Frost in some capacity, and maybe one of the
Okay.
scenarios where you have to kill him. But the whole point is that as you're navigating the
see.
board, Dr. Frost is still
Okay.
there in some way.
I do like that because let's say you could have a scenario where you have no monsters left on the board, right? And then you'd be like, dang it, now they just get this free reign of the whole place, and just to finish. So
Well,
if you always like you end with Dr. Frost, he gets added to the board, he comes after you just like all the other monsters or whatever. And sometimes you have to kill him, and sometimes you just avoid him.
Totally. I mean,
Yeah, I like
it's
that.
funny because like I remember the first time we were like big ideas and a bazillion things, and now we're like we've narrowed this down. We're at the closing stages, and so I think we got to the outcome we were hoping to tonight. And maybe you click. Wait, hold on a sec. Maybe you click Dr. Frost DNA and create a new Dr. Frost bark filled with Dr. Baby Frost.
Good feedback, Mike. I mean, we're gonna take that under consideration. Thank you. There's no wrong answers.
Great feed forward. Thank you. Thank
This
you.
is excellent feed forward. Anyone else? Anyone else?
Well,
All right, man, it's
I know
12:15.
we're
It's
all
12:15
tired.
where
Yeah. Well, enjoy your
It was a
evening.
great-
Thank you for that.
great-
Thank you for everyone that joined us tonight. It was awesome. Good
Totally.
chat, good insights. Thank you, Mike, for the awesome help at finding these like last things as we did our playthrough. Thank you, Stealth Mouse, for hanging out with us. Thanks for Talon for hanging out with us this night, giving us some ideas and pushing us toward Bamboo. And what was it, Phasma Boo?
Phasmophobia Boo.
Yeah, I don't know if he's still out there. So thank you so
He's
much.
not.
We'll
He's
see you guys
definitely
next
not.
time. We'll probably have some guests and safe travels, Ryan. We will see you all.
Thank you.
Have a good night, all. Peace.
Good night.